For our journal article, we had Mathematics Through Children's Literature by Destiny, Megan, and Gabby.
Yeah, so like Destiny said, our article is Mathematics Through Children's Literature. Our authors are Kathleen and Ashley. So our article discusses adapting a framework called the Narrative First Approach to integrate literature and mathematics for children aged 6 to 9 in a virtual setting. The authors present a narrative throughout approach where the mathematical problem solving is interwoven throughout the read aloud experience, which provides continuous engagement with both the text and mathematics.
5 key ideas are narrative first approach, narrative throughout approach, read alouds and connecting questions, posing the mathematics problem, and reflective discussion.
The first key idea is the narrative first approach. The narrative first approach provides teachers with a tool for integrating literacy and math in a meaningful way by leveraging student engagement in a narrative to create rich and authentic problem-solving activities. This first strategy, during which teacher starts with a piece of children's literature and reconstructs it through a mathematical lens, that often is taught in 5 sequential steps. The first step is the teacher reads the story aloud to the students. The second step is the teacher asks connecting questions relating to the story to the mathematical concepts to be studied. The third step is once connections have been made, the teacher poses the mathematical problems for students to think about. The fourth step is students complete the initial problems and broaden their thinking with extension problem solving if able to create further challenges. The fifth step is a reflective discussion during which the teacher and students reflect on mathematical learning.
The narrative throughout approach. The narrative throughout approach offers an alternative to the narrative first approach. The authors believe that both approaches can be used effectively according to the goals and needs of a lesson. For instance, teachers might use the narrative first approach to present a context for and launch a specific math problem in their curriculum. Other times, a teacher might use the narrative throughout approach to integrate the math and the story for the entire duration of the lesson. So if we take a look at the narrative throughout approach in 5 steps, it'll be very similar to the narrative first approach, except that in this specific approach, the literature and story can be found throughout all 5 steps.
Read alouds and connecting questions. During the read aloud, taking a moment to pause ever so often to ask questions to the students. For example, the story was discussing what it means to be smart. The instructor went on and asked the students in the lesson, what do you think? Who do you know that is smart? And how can we become smart? Asking these questions pulls them in. They automatically relate to something or someone they know. Bringing in real-life connections keeps the students engaged. Throughout the story, make sure to connect the story to mathematics. During this, give students time to discuss with one another their thoughts and feelings. Posing mathematical problems. When introducing a topic, the instructor should read the story before reading it to students and prepare questions to ask before the story is answering the questions. Having the students answer questions before the story is read to them pulls out their prior knowledge and warms their minds up for further thinking. Giving the students materials allows them to show how they understand the questions and letting them explain their thoughts and process. When a student has a high understanding, the question should extend their way of thinking by having them answer a question like, how do you know that is a triangle? And how are triangles and squares similar and different? A child explained when rotating the paper with a 2x6 and a 6x2 rectangle are rotated versions of each other, demonstrating number sense. To extend on the students' knowledge, show them the second image, how it means 2 by 2 plus a 2 by 4 is demonstrating distributive property.
At the end of the article, they had a reflection discussion. The authors discussed some of the aspects from the lesson that they liked and learned from the students. Some of these ideas and thoughts were how the narrative throughout approach was made to highlight the text-to-self connections they made throughout the lesson and relate the text to the students' lives. An example of how this related to students' lives was asking the students how they see rectangles in the real world. In the end, students discussed how they liked having the challenge of building the squares and how they felt smarter or exercised their brains.
So, applying it into our teaching and lesson planning. I will promote reflective discussions at the end of my lessons to consolidate learning, allowing my students to articulate their understanding, compare their strategies, and make connections between the story and the math concept.
For me, I would like to focus on the types of read-alouds I would use in the future. I can research possible books that contain concepts for both mathematical concepts and other subjects for my lesson. With these types of books, I can then work on using both the narrative-first approach and the narrative-throughout approach.
For myself, posing mathematical problems. Throughout readings, I will encourage critical thinking and problem solving by providing students with extended thinking questions and necessary materials. They will develop the ability to explain their reasoning.
We recommend this article because it provides a framework for integrating children's literature and mathematics. It offers insights into the narrative first and narrative throughout approaches. It emphasizes authentic problem solving and connecting math to students' lives. It also highlights the importance of reflective discussion for deeper learning. And lastly, it offers practical strategies for educators interested in integrating literature into math instruction.